Have you ever felt emotionally flooded and yet strangely numb at the same time? Have you ever wondered why you can understand your feelings intellectually but still get pulled into the same reactions when it matters most? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to explore something that sounds almost impossible at first. The idea that emotional intelligence, which many people treat as a modern skill for modern problems, has been mapped in detail for centuries inside ancient Buddhist texts, and not as poetry only, but as a practical training system for the mind and heart. Here are the two main ideas we will keep returning to. First, what we call emotional intelligence is not just a set of social tricks or communication techniques. At its deepest level, it is the ability to see emotions clearly as they arise, understand what feeds them, and respond with wisdom rather than reflex. Second, Buddhism offers a complete framework for that ability through mindfulness, insight, compassion, and non-attachment, all grounded in daily practice rather than theory. If you are living in 2026, you already know the modern crisis. People feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, and disconnected. We have more tools for communication than any generation before, yet many of us feel less understood. We have more information, yet more confusion. We have more convenience, yet more fatigue. And emotionally, it can feel like we are either drowning in feelings or avoiding them entirely. A lot of this comes down to one simple truth. We are not taught how to relate to our inner life. We are taught how to perform, how to achieve, how to appear stable, how to manage impressions, how to keep moving. But we are rarely taught how to sit with anger without becoming cruel, how to sit with fear without becoming controlling, how to sit with grief without collapsing, how to sit with desire without becoming addicted, how to sit with shame without becoming small. That is why emotional intelligence has become such a popular term. Most people define it as the ability to recognize emotions in yourself and others, manage them skillfully, and use that awareness to guide healthier choices and relationships. It is often presented as a relatively new discovery, the product of modern psychology and workplace training. But here is the surprising revelation. Buddhism has been doing this for a very long time, with a depth that still shocks people when they finally see it. Ancient Buddhist teachings do not talk about emotional intelligence with that label, but they talk about the exact capacities that emotional intelligence requires: self-awareness, emotional regulation, empathy, wise speech, ethical action, resilience, and the ability to see through the illusions that emotions often create. And Buddhism goes even further. It asks not only how to manage emotions, but what emotions actually are, what they are made of, how they arise, how they pass, how they hook the sense of self, how they create suffering when we cling, how they become fuel for compassion when we understand. So let us begin at the foundation. Mindfulness as self-awareness. In Buddhism, one of the most direct doors into emotional intelligence is vipassana, often translated as insight meditation. Vipassana is not about forcing calm. It is about seeing clearly. It trains you to observe bodily sensations, feelings, thoughts, and mental states as they arise and pass, without immediately judging them, resisting them, or acting them out. Think of what happens in an emotionally difficult moment. Someone says something that stings. Immediately the body tightens. The mind produces a story. They disrespected me. They do not care. I am not safe. Then emotion floods in, and before you know it, you are speaking sharply, withdrawing, or replaying the scene for hours. Vipassana slows this down, not by freezing life, but by sharpening awareness. It teaches you to notice the earliest signals: the tightening in the throat, the heat in the chest, the clenching in the belly, the sudden rush of thought, the urge to defend, attack, or disappear. When you can see the process early, you have a choice. That choice is the heart of emotional intelligence. Without awareness, there is only reaction. With awareness, response becomes possible. One of the most powerful frameworks in ancient Buddhist thought for understanding emotions is the teaching of the five aggregates, also called the skyanhas. This teaching can sound abstract, but once you grasp it, you start seeing your emotional life in a radically different way. The five aggregates describe what we commonly call a self as a collection of processes rather than a solid entity. Form, feeling tone, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. In simple language, this means your experience is made of the body, the emotional flavor of sensations, the way the mind labels and recognizes, the habits and impulses that arise, and the awareness that knows it all. Why does this matter for emotional intelligence? Because when you believe your emotions are you get trapped. If anger is me, then I must defend it. If fear is me, then I must obey it. If shame is me, then I must hide. The five aggregates teach you that emotions are events in the system, not the owner of the system. Anger arises within form, feeling tone, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. But it is not a permanent self. It is not a fixed identity. It is a process. Let us walk through an example in a slow and human way. Imagine you are in a meeting and someone dismisses your idea. Immediately there is form. The body reacts. Maybe your face flushes. Maybe your heart rate changes. Then feeling tone appears. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. In this case, unpleasant. Then perception labels it. Disrespect, rejection, threat. Then mental formations arise. The urge to prove yourself. The impulse to interrupt. The thought, I will show them. Then consciousness knows the whole scene. But without training, consciousness gets swept up and becomes identified with the wave. Vipassana training helps you separate these layers. You notice the body reaction as body reaction. You notice the unpleasant feeling tone as unpleasant feeling tone. You notice the label as a label, not as reality. You notice the impulse as an impulse, not as a command. And you rest as awareness that can choose. This is emotional intelligence in its deepest form. Not just naming emotions, but understanding their components and not being possessed by them. Now here is where many people misunderstand Buddhist self-awareness. They think it makes you detached in a cold way. But true insight does not make you less human. It makes you more human. Because you stop being hijacked by unconscious patterns. You can still feel deeply, but you feel with clarity. You can still care, but you care without drowning. And this brings us to something very practical that appears in a classic discourse, the Anapanasati Sutta, the teaching on mindfulness of breathing. You do not need to be a scholar to benefit from it. The simple core is this. The breath can become an anchor that stabilizes attention and provides immediate emotional clarity. When you are emotionally overwhelmed, your attention gets scattered. The mind spins. The story grows. The body tightens. In those moments, the breath is not just air. It is an interruption of the loop. It is a way to return to the present moment where choice lies. Here is a breathing practice you can use immediately, spoken in a way that fits real life in 2026. When you notice emotional intensity rising, pause. Feel your feet on the ground. Let your shoulders drop even slightly. Then bring attention to the breath. Do not force it. Just notice it. Notice one full inhale and one full exhale. Then, another. If your mind runs, that is normal. Each time you notice the running, gently return to the breath. Now add one layer of insight. As you breathe, name what is present without judgment. Anger is here. Fear is here. Shame is here. Sadness is here. Do not add a story. Just name the weather. Then add one layer of kindness. This is important. You can say silently, "This is a hard moment." Or you can say, "May I be steady." Or even simpler, "It is okay to feel this." This combination, breath, naming, and kindness is an ancient emotional regulation tool. It does not suppress emotion. It creates space around it. And that space is where wise action becomes possible. Now let us move from self-awareness to empathy. Because emotional intelligence is not only inner management, it is also connection. And Buddhism places compassion at the center of awakening. Metta, often translated as loving kindness, is a meditation practice that trains goodwill. It is not about forcing yourself to like everyone. It is about cultivating a sincere intention for well-being, starting with yourself and extending outward. In modern emotional intelligence language, metta builds empathy and reduces reactive hostility. It trains the heart to stay open even when the mind is tempted to harden. Why does this matter so much in 2026? Because many people are emotionally armored. They have been disappointed too many times. They have been overwhelmed too many times. They have learned to protect themselves by becoming cynical, distant, or sarcastic. They confuse numbness with strength. But numbness blocks connection. Metta practice is like gently rehydrating a heart that has been living in emotional dread. You begin by offering goodwill to yourself, because without that, empathy for others becomes performative and exhausting. And you extend outward to people you love, to neutral people, to difficult people, and eventually to all beings. As a way of expanding the heart, if you try metta for the first time, it may feel awkward. That is normal. We are not trained to speak to ourselves with kindness. But over time, something shifts. When anger arises, you can still feel it, but you are less likely to turn it into cruelty. When conflict arises, you can hold firmness without hatred. When you see someone else struggling, you recognize the humanity under their behavior. This is where the idea of interbeing becomes powerful, a term widely associated with Thich and Hat Han. Interbeing points to the truth that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of others, not as a moral slogan, but as a reality. When you insult someone, you injure the relationship, and that injury changes your world too. When you hold resentment, you live inside a mind that is bitter, and that bitterness shapes how you speak, how you interpret, how you act. When you practice compassion, you become easier to be around, and that changes your environment. Interbeing is emotional intelligence at a collective level. It reminds you that emotions do not exist only inside you. They flow between people. A tense nervous system can infect a room. A calm presence can settle a room. A harsh tone can start a war. A gentle repair can end one. Now let us bring this into a modern case study, not as a clinical report, but as a story you can recognize. Imagine two co-workers, Maya and Chris. In 2026, the team is stressed. Deadlines are tight. Everyone is overloaded. Maya sends a short message that is meant to be efficient, but it lands as cold. Chris reads it while already anxious. Chris feels dismissed. Chris replies sharply. Maya feels attacked. Maya escalates. The conflict grows, not because the issue is huge, but because each person's emotional state shapes interpretation. A modern emotional intelligence approach might say, regulate first, then communicate. Buddhism offers a very similar sequence, but with deeper tools. First, mindfulness. Each person notices their bodily reaction. Tightness, heat, racing mind. They name it. Second, insight into the aggregates. They recognize that the feeling tone is unpleasant. The perception is labeling it as disrespect. And mental formations are creating a story. Third, nidda. Even a small moment of goodwill. May I be steady. May you be well. Fourth, right speech. A part of the Eightfold Path, meaning they choose words that are truthful, timely, and not designed to harm. So Chris pauses and replies with clarity. I may have misunderstood your tone. I am feeling stressed and I want to make sure we are aligned. Can we clarify what you need from me? Maya receives that and feels the tension soften. Maya replies, I am sorry it came across cold. I was rushing. I appreciate your work and I want to make this easier for both of us. Now the conflict becomes a bridge instead of a rupture. Nothing mystical happened, but something profound happened. Each person stopped obeying the first emotional impulse. They used awareness to create choice. They used compassion to keep the heart open. They used wise speech to repair quickly. That is ancient practice informing modern conflict resolution. Now we move into the part that many people avoid: suffering. Because emotional intelligence is not only about being calm when life is easy. It is about navigating suffering with wisdom when life is hard. This is where the Four Noble Truths become a framework for emotional resilience. They are often taught as the foundation of Buddhism, but they also function as a map for emotional life. There is suffering. You will feel pain, disappointment, grief, fear, and frustration. Second, there is a cause of suffering, not the event itself alone, but the craving and clinging that intensify it, the stories that make it personal and permanent. Third, there is a cessation, not that you will never feel pain, but that you can be free from the extra suffering created by clinging. Fourth, there is a path, a way of living and training the mind that leads to that freedom. In 2026, many people struggle not only because of what happens, but because their mind turns every feeling into identity. If I am anxious, then I am broken. If I am sad, then life is hopeless. If I am angry, then I am a bad person. The Four Noble Truths gently dismantle this. They say, yes, suffering happens. Now ask what feeds it. Ask what makes it stick. Ask what makes it spiral. And then practice the path that loosens the grip. One of the most important tools here is UPEKKHA, often translated as equanimity. Equanimity is not indifference. It is balance. It is the ability to remain steady in the presence of intense emotion without being swallowed by it. In emotional intelligence language, equanimity is the capacity to feel without being hijacked. It is the capacity to respond rather than react. It is the capacity to stay connected to your values, even when the nervous system is activated. How do you cultivate equanimity? You cultivate it through repeated practice in small moments. Each time you breathe through irritation rather than snapping, you build it. Each time you pause before sending a reactive message, you build it. Each time you allow sadness to be present without immediately numbing it, you build it. Each time you recognize a craving for validation and choose to rest instead, you build it. This is why Buddhism is practical. It does not ask you to become emotionally perfect. It asks you to train. And training is repetition. Now let us talk about the Eightfold Path, because this is where Buddhist wisdom becomes a full system for emotionally intelligent decisions and actions in 2026. The Eightfold Path is often taught as right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. But you do not need to memorize it as a list to live it. You can feel it as a way of relating to life. Right view means seeing clearly. In emotional intelligence terms, it means not being fooled by the story that an emotion tells you. Anger may tell you, attack. Fear may tell you, hide. Desire may tell you, grasp. Shame may tell you, disappear. Right view says, this is an emotion. It is not the full truth. It is a signal shaped by conditioning. Right intention means you choose the motivation behind your response. Do you want to reduce suffering or increase it? Do you want to protect life or feed ego? Do you want to be right or be wise? Right speech is emotional intelligence in action. Speak truthfully. Speak kindly. Speak at the right time. Speak in ways that reduce harm. This does not mean you avoid hard conversation. It means you do not use words as weapons. Right action means your behavior matches your values, even when you are triggered. It means you do not justify harm because you feel hurt. This is big. Many people think feelings excuse behavior. Buddhism says feelings are conditions. but responsibility remains. Right livelihood means you consider how your work affects your mind and others. This matters in 2026 because many people are burned out, and burnout reduces emotional intelligence. When you are depleted, you are more reactive, less patient, less compassionate. Right livelihood asks how to live in a way that supports clarity and non-harm. Right effort means you cultivate wholesome states and reduce unwholesome states. In modern terms, you practice building the habits that support emotional intelligence. Sleep, reflection, meditation, honest conversation, boundaries, learning, repair, and you reduce habits that destabilize the mind, like constant doom scrolling, substance overuse, and chronic avoidance. Right mindfulness means you keep returning to awareness. You notice what is happening in the body and mind. You notice the earliest signals of emotion. You notice the stories. You notice the impulses. Right concentration means you stabilize attention. This is critical because without attention, you cannot apply any of the other parts. If your mind is scattered, you will be ruled by whatever emotion shouts the loudest. Concentration gives you the inner steadiness to choose. When you combine these, you get a complete blueprint for emotional intelligence that is not dependent on personality. It is trainable. Now let us bring all of this into the lived reality of relationships, because that is where emotional intelligence is tested. It is easy to be mindful alone in a quiet room. It is harder when someone you love triggers your deepest insecurity. Imagine an argument between partners. Alex and Sam. Alex feels ignored. Sam feels controlled. The same argument repeats. It begins with a small comment, then spirals. A Buddhist approach begins with mindfulness. Each person notices the body. Alex notices tightness in the chest and a sinking feeling. Sam notices heat in the face and an urge to defend. Then insight. Alex sees the perception, labeling it as abandonment. Sam sees the perception, labeling it as criticism. Both realize the story is owned. Then compassion. Alex recognizes that Sam is stressed, not necessarily rejecting. Sam recognizes that Alex is hurting, not necessarily attacking. Then wise speech. I feel lonely and I want connection. Sam says, I feel pressured and I want space, but I also care about you. Then right action. They choose a repair instead of a win. They take a breath. They agree on a time to talk calmly. They make a small change. This is emotional intelligence. It is not the absence of conflict. It is the ability to move through conflict without creating lasting harm. Now let us address the modern crisis of emotional overwhelm and disconnection one more time. Because this is not happening in a vacuum. In 2026, many people are living in a state of chronic stimulation. Notifications, news, social feeds, and constant comparison keep the nervous system activated. When the nervous system is activated, it becomes harder to access empathy. It becomes harder to access patience. It becomes harder to access clarity. Buddhist practice is not just spiritual. It is nervous system training. The breath calms, the body settles, awareness increases. Then emotional intelligence becomes more available. This is why ancient texts feel like they are written for today. They describe the same inner patterns that technology now amplifies. Craving, aversion, distraction, comparison, identity fixation. The Buddha did not need a smartphone to understand these patterns. The smartphone simply makes them louder. Now I want to give you a practical way to apply these teachings in daily life in 2026, without turning your day into a complicated ritual. Start with one moment of breath each morning. Before you open your phone or step into work, take 3 slow breaths. Feel your body. This is not performance. It is a reset. It tells your mind, I lead, not the world. Then practice one mindful pause before reacting. When you feel an emotion rise, pause for one breath. Name it: anger, fear, shame, sadness. Then choose the next action intentionally. Then add a short metta practice. You can do it in 1 minute. Place a hand on the chest and say silently, "May I be steady. May I be kind. May I be free from suffering." Then extend one phrase to someone else, even someone neutral. "May you be well." Then end the day with reflection. Not judgment. Reflection. Asked, where did I react today? What did I believe in that moment? What would I do differently next time? Then forgive yourself and begin again. This is how emotional mastery grows. Not by suppressing feelings, but by understanding them and responding wisely. Now let us talk about the secret that people often miss. Emotional intelligence is not about controlling emotions like you control a machine. Emotions are not machine. They are living movements. Emotional intelligence is about relationship. Your relationship with anger, your relationship with fear, your relationship with desire, your relationship with sadness. Buddhism trains that relationship through insight. When you see emotions as impermanent, they lose their power to define you. When you see emotions as conditioned, you can change the condition. When you see emotions as not self, you stop making them your identity. When you meet emotions with compassion, you stop adding shame on top of pain. That is the deeper secret. The suffering is often not the emotion itself. The suffering is the resistance, the clinging, the story, the self-judgment, the fear of feeling. When you stop fighting emotions, they move through more cleanly. When you stop feeding emotions with story, they lose intensity. When you stop identifying with emotions, you gain freedom. Now let us bring this to a close with a recap that feels like a landing rather than a summary. Ancient Buddhist teachings offer a robust, actionable framework for emotional intelligence. Vipassana trains self-awareness by helping you see emotions as processes rather than identity. The 5 aggregates help you deconstruct emotional reactions so you are not possessed by them. Mid-mulsons of breathing from the Anapan, acid I Ching provides immediate clarity and stability in intense moments. Met, but trains empathy and warmth, which strengthens connection. The insight of interbeing reminds you that emotions flow through relationships and communities, and that compassion is not optional if you want a sane world. The 4 noble truths give you a map for understanding suffering and reducing it. Equanimity helps you release the grip of intense emotions without becoming cold. The Eightfold Path gives you a daily blueprint for wise decisions, speech, and action in the middle of real life. If you want a simple call to action after this video, choose one text or practice and stay with it for a week. You could explore the Anapan, acid I Ching by practicing mindful breathing for 5 minutes a day. Or you could explore metta by offering 1 minute of loving kindness each morning. Or you could explore the 5 aggregates by noticing, in one emotional moment, the body sensation, the feeling tone, the label, the impulse, and the awareness that knows. Pick one. Keep it simple. Practice is where the secret becomes real. And here is the final thought I want to leave with you. Emotional mastery is not about suppressing feelings. It is about understanding the mind that creates extra suffering around feelings. It is about meeting your inner life with wisdom and clarity, so your emotions become teachers rather than tyrants. If this resonated, share in the comments what you are struggling with emotionally in 2026. Is it anxiety? Is it anger? Is it numbness? Is it overwhelm? And share one small practice you are willing to try this week. Your words may help someone else feel less alone, and your commitment may help you begin a real change. Support the channel by subscribing, liking, and commenting so more people can find these longer teachings. And if you want the next video, we can go deeper into one of these texts and turn it into a step-by-step daily training plan that fits modern life without losing the depth of the tradition. Until next time, keep your awareness close, keep your heart soft, and keep choosing wisdom over reflex.
Every person carries a certain energy. Your focus, your dreams, your purpose. Bracelet is a physical reminder of that energy. symbol you wear daily, that pushes you to stay grounded, balanced, and aligned. If one of the bracelets caught your eye, you can order it through the link in the description and check more powerful styles on our homepage store. Choose the one that strengthens your journey.